The show starts with two paintings. Penny Prentice, Sarah Brown, Aka, and her family, and a little painting of Olin, where I've spent the last 28 years teaching, and where Penny, before I was there, was also teaching, and she had been there for 25 years. This one's called Main Street Rising, and it's because it's rising from the level of Main Street, and it's painted then from the second floor, from the third floor, and from the cupola at the top of the old main building. So it's a composite of vantages looking towards Mountain Road and across Main Street. And so it was painted all from direct observation from the cupola, although it's also invented. There's a lot of compression of space and invention of space. This actually leads us all the way over to Plainville, which is not quite possible in literal reality. This painting is called Displaced. This is a little etching in memory of Davin Faulkner. Forevermore, forevermore, forevermore. If you know the Sea Train song, you have the rhythm of this painting as it replayed in my mind as I painted this sort of composite family portrait in honor of my stepfather, who passed away a few years ago, and we gathered in his memory. Main from Meadow is a painting of Main building seen from Mountain Road, rather, Main from Mountain. This one's called The Present, and you can see Scott Bricker and Mary Teresi on the right. On the left is my family. In the background is UCLA, where Ruth was a student at that time, having graduated this past June 2025. And other events along the way, most importantly the candle in the middle, and Grover and Tofu back there, sunflowers, all positive, hopeful elements. As I was preparing to go visit Ruth in December, I remember doing this painting after one of my first meetings, I think it was, as department chair, having come from some kind of charged discussion with the academic council, and taking solace along this path behind the graveyard and the evening light in the late fall, early winter. This painting is in memory of two very dear, very important people in my life. On the left is Nim McFadden. Now, Nim was a student at Brooks School, where I went to boarding school, and it says McFadden back there, McFadden's Bar. There's a lot of invented stuff, but Nim told me about the Rhode Island School of Design. He also liked to draw, and he's the one who gave me the idea to go to their summer program when I was just 15 years old, and it changed my life. And Nim was a maverick kind of guy. He has a book of writings, which you can find. It's called Picture This. Then on the right is my friend Bob Nielsen, who also passed away last year. This painting is processing their passage, and the title of the painting is Passing Shadows. And Bob was a lawyer in Brooklyn, and in the background you can see the street he lived on, Warren Street in Brooklyn, and kind of a composite landscape invented space. But these two really were wonderful people, and my wife Sarah's in the deep space with our dog Marty, and we have a kitty in the foreground and a landscape painter in the background. Little painting done on wood, and it's actually a bit older than the rest of these paintings. Most of these paintings in the show are from the last 3 years or so, but this one was done during COVID, and it's about things turning to bone or to stone, or I don't know, it has something to do with recognizing our limited durations, our sort of vulnerability. This painting called Letters Home is on the card for this show. It's the most recent large painting, it's 2025. It shows a self-portrait with my two daughters, and in the deeper space, my wife Sarah. It has little kind of remembrances of Bill Bailey in the still life objects. In the distant space is our house in Plainville. It's painted without much struggle, actually, relative to many of the paintings in this show, which are resized and restretched and worked. This one was pretty much the first shot, and the title Letters Home is a really important one to me, because I remember writing when I was in college still, I think at Stanford, the year I transferred to RISD, and saying paintings are like letters home, and all you can do is tell your story. This is a little plein air painting I did of the view from the hillstead. It's early springtime. It's just a lovely view. I actually think it was painted in one, possibly two sessions. This is a large painting called Yes It Is. The title coming from the Beatles song, Yes It Is. Like so many of my large paintings, it's trying to come to terms with whatever life has seemed to deal at the time. So it's a journalistic composite of feelings and images. This one had to do with sort of arrivals and departures. I'll leave it at that. Here are two studies of Route 4 in Farmington. This is a familiar place for me in the summers, especially because I'm often in the studio in Olin, and I ride my bike over to Route 4 to the mobile station where I can get a bite to eat, because I'm not considered to be working in the summer, but I actually am, of course. Painting is called Hat Trick, and it has a lot of events within the overall tableau. There's scenes of LA where Ruth was a student, and scenes from school. To the left is Bill Bailey in his studio, and Sam at that time sort of in a wheelchair, not doing so great towards the end, etc. There are lots of important events that are juxtaposed, and yeah, it's always a bit of a mystery, and meant to be, I guess. One's called Meadow. It's actually mostly from memory, and it's of Meadow Road, and it's the experience of driving on Meadow Road. That's my commuter route, or sometimes that's the path I take to get to school. It's quite a rough and kind of ominous painting, rough in that it's been restretched and resized and struggled with. But there you have it. This painting is in commemoration of the memorial for the wonderful, historic, but hugely impactful William Bailey. Just an amazing painter. I worked at the Shulkoff Gallery for, I think it was 4.5 years back in the late 80s, early 90s. When he passed away, there was an event at the American Academy of Arts and Letters, and I just can't say enough about the importance of this artist, William Bailey. This is a little study called Reveille. This is the large painting Reveille. It is a meditation on my grandparents. On my right is my grandfather, Robert McIlvaine Torrance, with the musical instrument is my grandmother, Kathleen DeLangley. And these artists from a couple generations before me were very inspiring. And I think we're all part of something larger than ourselves that continues past ourselves. This is a painting called Union Station Beyond Bowery. It's a composite of places. There is a kind of portrait of Union Station in New Haven in the center of the painting. And it has to do with what ended up being kind of a difficult time for me in really coming to terms with or accepting my decision to no longer be a full-time member at the wonderful Bowery Gallery. I'm just an associate member, and it's been a few years now that I made that transition, but I was still working through it. And these are two religious pieces I made kind of for St. James Church. As a congregation, we first were sort of asked to make a painting that had to do with the stations of the cross, and I ended up doing all 12 stations with the crucifixion in the middle. So this is a narrative painting, like many of my paintings, but it does have a specific storyline that comes out of the Bible, and it reads counterclockwise, and we see Jesus having his 3 falls and the events that happen on the way to the crucifixion, and then the coming down from the cross and finally being in the tomb. This one's about Epiphany, which was also in a St. James exhibit with other artworks about this event, and so we have the wise men coming from afar to see the baby Jesus in the manger. And what I started thinking a lot about was who the wise men were from the East and what they brought with them, both conceptually and materially, when they came to meet Mary and the light of the world. And Joseph is there, of course, in the manger. And there's this wall of landscapes towards the end of the show, and they are mostly Farmington based. I guess they're all Farmington This one is campus from the perspective of Olin, pretty much looking towards main building and Cottage on the left and Hamilton on in the center. The light, the paths, late afternoon. This one is on the way to Avon, and you're going past the little farm there on the left. Sub-Edge Farm. The campus scene, this one done from the steps of Hamilton and looking towards Counting House. There are some drawings for this painting, for these paintings. This painting is done from Main Street in Farmington, looking west. Only this painting is inspired by the outdoor services that we have at St. James. So we're looking towards this Porter's campus from the St. James grounds.